I'm going to show you guys something today I call the ghost leaks. So we're going to go down here, we're going to see, we're going to look right here. That's leaking, just a little bit, right? And down here. It's leaking. We'll come over here. That's leaking. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, you see? So a lot of times, what a lot of guys will do, okay, is when you gotta add like 400 pounds of gas to a store, right? They look for a blowout leak, which is your first go-to. You always want to try to see if you can find a blowout leak. You know, you look at your underground piping, your evap coils, everything, right? But I call this a ghost. Maybe we could call it a ghost blowout. Okay? Just death by 1,000 cuts. You see this? And what people will do is people will actually just leave this. Okay? People will leave all these little things and they'll say, found no leak. And why do they leave them? Is because usually they have a leak detector that tells you the parts per million, and they go, that's only 5 parts per million, that's only 6 parts per million, only 10 parts per million, only blah 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 per million, right? And they do that. But the thing is, it's 5 parts per million, so 5 parts per million, 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 you know, times, you know, 20. So then you're at like what? 1,000 parts per million leaking from your rack at any given moment, but it's just spread out over your whole system, okay? And I've literally seen people leak check stores again and again and again, and they never bother to tighten up their rack, to just go through and screw all these things. Like legitimately take 2 wrenches and wrench down every single ball valve cover on these things. Check every single solenoid. You see that little nut right there? Every single solenoid that it's screwed on tight enough. Okay? I did one solar. Every single solenoid was leaking. I corrected every single solenoid. All you gotta do is a little turn. Every single one. Okay? And the people haven't been back there like over a year. They were going back there every month. Okay? When you're talking, you know, 5 parts per million on 25, you know, 100 leaks on your rack, you're going to empty out in like a month, 2 months, 3 months, and you're going to keep coming back again and again and again, and no one is looking for what I would call the ghost leak, the 20 to 30 little corrections that you need to do. Even something like, you know, this doesn't have a cover on it. Is it leaking? Doesn't seem to be particularly leaking. Maybe it's like 1 part per million. Okay? You know, just all these little fittings. You know, just this is what I would call a ghost blowout. It's just vibration throughout time. All of these things loosen up, and you gotta just go through and correct them all. Sometimes you don't have a big blowout, and if you checked all your evap coils, you checked all your racks, you checked all your headers, you know, you checked your underground piping, and all that's left is these 20 little tiny 5 parts per million, there's your leak. Repair them all. Oh yeah, just like I said, okay, so first off, we learned you search for your blowout. Then number 2, you come back to your machine room and you tighten up all these little itty bitty leaks at your machine room. And if you don't find a blowout and you searched high and low like a lunatic, you really did your due diligence and no blowouts, more than likely you have a ghost leak, which is just, you know, the culmination of, you know, like 100 to 30, you know, 5 parts per million leaking every day for months and months and months. And then in a year, you add 400 pounds of gas, and you go and you're like, I didn't find any leaks. And a lot of times the guys will ignore the little leaks. Don't do it. Repair them. If worst comes to worst, you don't even know what to do with yourself, you can literally just buy retrofit caps, put it on every single ball valve, tighten every single ball valve, every single equalization line, every single connection you can find. Just a little tighten everywhere. Be careful not to break anything. Okay, I know a guy, especially on a type of valve like this, who he just tightened it just a little bit, broke it right off the valve. It, you know, had to shut it down, isolate everything. You know, it was like lost probably, you know, 20-30 pounds of gas from the system. Very scared moment. You know, like I'm just saying, like, you gotta be careful when you're doing it. Okay, you don't want to crank like a monkey. Do the best you can. If you have to pump it down, put an eye-log and put it back together, that's what you do. But anyway, figured that would be worth mentioning. Not a bad piece, a little tidbit for the day. Maybe you learned something, maybe not. I don't know. Like, subscribe. Yeah, just do it. Whatever. That's how you do it.